Welcome to Using Synonyms Part 2. If you remember, in Part 1, we created a synonym for a table that we created. The first thing we did is we went out and did a select into, and based on the Human Resources Employee table, we created a table called Test 100. Then we created a synonym called ML table that points to Test 100 and demonstrated that I can select from Test 100 or from ML table and I get the same results. And so now we have a synonym called ML table that's pointing to Test 100. Then, you know what's happening here, right? Once you get everything flying straight and level and there's no smoking and there's no vibrating, none of any of that stuff, there is a reorganization, right? And so the DBAs, for some bizarre reason, decide that the table Test 100 is going to be renamed to Test 200. And again, all this code's out there in your working files folder. And I'll terminate, like a good person, with the semicolon. Now I'll execute this, and notice it's telling me caution, changing any part of an object name could break scripts and stored procedures, and it will, because anywhere out there in my stored procedures, any of my scripts that I am selecting from ML table and I execute it now, notice it says, I don't know what you're talking about. ML table refers to an invalid object. It's pointing to something called Test 100, and I don't see one of those out there anymore. Notice if I come over here and right click and refresh, Test 100 is now Test 200, right? So what am I going to do? Well, notice the fix here. For all of that code that's out there that's pointing to the wrong one, I am going to drop synonym ML table. I'll highlight just that and execute it. There it goes. So I no longer have the synonym ML table. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create synonym ML table. And now I'm going to say for DBO, you know what I want to do, Test 200, right? And I will execute that. So I've just dropped and recreated my synonym, pointed it back to the right place, same name. And now I'll do a select asterisk from ML table. Once again, there's my data. So notice when I renamed my underlying tables from Test 100 to Test 200, this could have been from employee to employees. It could have been anything. However, when I did that, it would have broken all the code if it pointed straight to that table. But since I used synonyms, all it did was broke the connection on the synonyms, and I just have to recreate that connection, and all of my code everywhere works. That is called abstraction. I've abstracted the name used to access that table away from the actual table name. So now the table name can change. We can just repoint the synonym and all of our code is okay. And as you know, you don't want to jump out there and start hacking around in code. Somebody's going to fat finger something. Even developers have bad days, right? They do things they don't intend to and things start breaking even worse. But this is a really good look at synonyms. These things are really cool. Watch for them on the exam. They will mention them. Make sure you understand the biggest benefit of these things. Not only can I make four-part naming and all that a lot shorter and easier, I talked about that earlier in the course, but the ability to abstract these names and change actual object names, and this would work on store procedures, views, and all that, without breaking all my code is absolutely huge. So that's a real quick look at synonyms.